Hi, I'm Celeste and welcome to Find Your Purple. Today is day 18 of my 40 days of reflection, and I'm using another example from Church Sunday. Our pastor, Pastor Brent, was sick, and so I guess at like 9 or 10 the night before, he ended up calling his dad, who is also a pastor, retired pastor, to speak for him. Apparently he used Brent's notes, but so he was there to speak with very little prep, and he ended up mentioning the timer in the front row so that Pastor Brent or whoever's speaking would be on schedule. And it made me think, because I've been watching a lot of old school sermons and old school revival, and they would talk about how sometimes their sermons would go into the night, into midnight, and there was no time limit. It's kind of wherever the Spirit led, and they could be several hours long. But I think the mention of this timer now, because we have first services at 9:30, and from 9:30 to 10, it's worship, music, and then we're out of there by 11, and then 11:30 the next group comes in. So we're very much on a time clock. And I think about it sometimes thinking, wow, in the old days, however those time frame was, people weren't on such a clock. They didn't have God on a clock. And sometimes even when I go into a prayer room or when I have some prayer time, I will sometimes admittedly set the alarm to know, okay, I'm going to do it for 30 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is. And I think, I wonder what God thinks about being on a clock, that, you got this much time, and heaven forbid we all go over our time in church and screw up the next schedule. It goes against what my growing up. I did not have the feeling that the church was led by the Holy Spirit in the sense of what they talked about in the sermon, because I went to Catholic and it was the Mass and it was very structured. But some churches, I guess, would go, let the Holy Spirit speak. And again, some of these old school, they'll say, well, I was going to talk about this, but the Holy Spirit's leading me this way. But there was some joke, and I don't remember if it was a cartoon or what, that talked as a guy was walking down in front of a church, and they had, I guess they gave him one of the church notes or church, I don't know what you call them, piece of paper that said what would happen during the church. And his comment was about, well, how do you know what the Holy Spirit's going to say? Because I guess if you're really a Holy Spirit-driven church, you go with the flow more. I don't know. So it's kind of shows how far off I guess we've gotten in a way. We've allocated God to this little block of time on Sunday mornings. Sometimes we give him times during the week, sometimes we don't. But that's, I think, something we all need to think about. Have you allocated God to a certain set of time each week or each day? And if so, we may kind of want to rethink that a little bit. I know I need to. It just struck me when he was up there and he knew, oh, okay, I've only got 5 more minutes to speak, And I thought, wow, we have really put God in a box nowadays. As opposed to making God the center and fitting things around him, we tend to allocate things in blocks and say, okay, here's the allotment we've given you, and we fit God into that box. It's not the way it's supposed to be. I hope I can get out of that more, but just want to toss it out there and make sure you're not falling in the same trap, because I think it's an easy one to slip into. So that's it for today. As always, grab your cup of tea, sit back, and let's start sharing. Until next time, bye-bye.